Five, five, four, three. Hi, everybody. Dugroz here with Dugroz Reports. Welcome to my Saturday morning live stream. Happy to see each and every one of you on board this morning. Today is Saturday, May the 2nd, 2025, and I'm reporting live from my house. Let's poke around and see who is here today. We have Robert J., Happy Tom, Matt Clausen, Andrew Beach says, "Good day, Douglas. What's on the menu today? The Burger in the Lounge was an epic stream." Thank you. I appreciate that. Chad Pennycuff, Dad on a Mission. Xavier ID, who lets us know he's been a channel member for 9 months. Thank you for being a channel member for 9 months, Xavier. I really appreciate the patronage. Ron Byrne, Dimitri G. He says, "Happy May 3rd, Dugroz, not the 2nd. Did I say the 2nd? Because I could have sworn I thought 3rd. Regardless, today is May the 3rd. Andrew's definitely right. Matt Clausen, Jay Spain. How you doing, Jay Spain? Don't think we've met before. TM Cowling, Catch 631. Let's go. I agree. Let's go, everyone. Please go ahead and click the thumbs up button. That'll drive more people in here to watch. And Tom Graber just showed up and dropped a $5 super chat. Boom. Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate that. Celebrate. Awesome. Anything that you donate is going to go 80% to my channel, 20% to the family budget. So that would be excellent, and I would really appreciate it. I get probably 40%, not quite half of my income from donations, super chats, and super thanks, people giving away memberships, those kind of things. Well, let's just go ahead and dive right on in here to our Dugroz data points. Share the screen, click the button, choose the tab, click share, and away we go. First data point, this was in an email that I got from Citi. I didn't have a live stream last Saturday, so it's been more than a week ago. And they say, "We are writing to let you know that we're making changes to the Thank You Rewards program. Effective on July 27th, some of the redemption values are changing." Now, just to clarify, I no longer have the Citi Strata Premier. This is from Citi. If I said Chase, I said that wrong. This is from Citi, CITI. Thank you points. I only have the lesser cards. I have 2 of the custom caches plus the now grandfathered rewards plus card. Prior to this change, it had been 1,000 thank you points become 800 true blue points, 1,000 thank you points become 1,500 choice privileges points, and 1,000 thank you points become 800 Wyndham points. And now they're making a change so that you will get 1,000 thank you points become 700 true blue, 1,000 thank you points become 1,400 choice, and 1,000 thank you points become 700 Wyndham. So basically, they're all going down by 100 points. Does that seem weird to anyone else? I met and spoke with Matt Clausen not too long ago, and we both agreed this is like weird. Like, what are they doing? You know, is it possible they're making room for American Airlines as a transfer partner? But who doesn't have the Citi Strata Premier but still uses transfer partners? Are they really going to save that much money? I have a little bit of skepticism in that regard. Ron Byrne says, "Happy Star Wars Day tomorrow." Indeed, may the 4th be with you. Chad Pennycuff says, "I just realized a quarter of this audience went from Saturday morning cartoons to Saturday morning Dugroz Reports Live." Yeah, probably. I don't know. Maybe more than a quarter. Depends on your age. Where's the cutoff for Saturday morning cartoons? I felt like it's maybe mid to late 90s. Not really sure. Robert Jarrell gives a $1.99 super sticker. Thank you, Robert. Celebrate. I really appreciate that. Kevin Hawthorne is on board live from Lakeland, Florida. Good morning. And Mike from LA says, "Best start to a Saturday." Thank you. I appreciate that. Chad's going to a Star Wars Galaxy Edge event tomorrow at Hollywood Studios. Andrew says, "Doesn't Rewards Plus come with 10% bonus?" It comes with a 10% rebate. So you would use however many thank you points there are and then have them rebated back to you. So it wouldn't really affect the transfer point ratios. Math would say that's 100 points on the transferred amount. It is, but before you got the higher transferred amount and the 10% rebate. Now you get the lesser transferred amount and the 10% rebate. So it's not a big deal haircut, but it's still a haircut. I just find the whole thing to be kind of weird, frankly. Next Dugroz data point. We know that Lyft has a benefit with Chase, whereas if you have a Chase Sapphire Reserve once per month, you can get a $10 credit on Lyft rides. And I used that for the first time ever. Right here, you'll see negative $10. So took $10 off my Lyft ride. That was on my most recent trip. So I should have mentioned today is kind of a two-part presentation. The first part is going to be a playback of my most recent RIP trip. I went to Albany, New York 1 week ago today. Well, actually 1 week ago yesterday is when I flew out, but the fun started 1 week ago today. So I'll talk about that, do some broad level highlights of the things I did, and then we'll transition to a topic that is unexpected things that come up while traveling and how to handle them. Some of them can be solved with credit cards. Some are just solved with common sense. So that's what we're leading up to. That ties in with this because this particular Lyft Pink ride was me going to the airport to start that journey off. I saved $10. So that was certainly something I was happy to save on. Still going here, still clicking the thumbs up button, aren't we? Yes, we are. Next up, as of 2 days ago, we started a new month on May 1st. It was May Day. And the first of the month often reveals transfer bonuses. And we have a couple from our friends over at Chase Bank. See if I can zoom in without cutting it off badly. Doesn't look great. Flying Blue, which is Air France and KLM's reward program. You have a 25% bonus from your Chase Ultimate Rewards. Virgin Atlantic, similarly, a 25% bonus from your Chase Ultimate Rewards. This can definitely have some uses. It depends on a variety of factors, whether that's a good use for you personally or not. I talked last time I had a live stream 2 weeks ago about having points trapped over at Flying Blue from a failed Denmark expedition. So I wouldn't proactively transfer points to either of these, but if you have a very specific redemption in mind, it could be helpful. One thought I had is if you're flying Delta to the Creator Meetup in Puerto Rico, Veterans Day weekend in November, check Virgin Atlantic to see if you can book a domestic Delta flight using Virgin points. That might be a good deal. I don't actually know. Honestly, I don't even know. Does Delta fly to San Juan? Don't know. Excuse me while I blow my nose here. Mojo is here. Hey, sir. How you doing, Mojo? Good to see you on board this morning. Next data point. Hat tip to Doctor of Credit. Rakuten has a offer that I find to be a little weird. You can get $50 or 5,000 membership rewards when signing up for a Chase Sapphire Preferred, Freedom Unlimited, or Ink Unlimited. Now, this is only a good deal if you aren't in two-player mode, because if you are in two-player mode, I believe you can refer over. I know you can refer over on an Ink card and get a 20,000 point sign-up bonus, which is much better. Excuse me, refer a friend bonus, which is much better. On the Chase Sapphire Preferred, it's 10,000 points, which is still double. I'm not sure on the Freedom Unlimited. I think that's maybe $50 / 5,000 points, which is the same. But basically, this would be useful if you're in a solo household where you don't have a player two, and you would rather collect half the points yourself rather than letting a friend or family member get the bonus. So just sort of an interesting thing to note, and obviously no hard feelings depending on, regardless of which one you do. If you are looking to get the Sapphire Preferred, let me know. I do have a refer a friend offer for the 10,000, and I'd be happy to refer anyone. Just put it in the comments of any of my videos. Juan Garcia has arrived and says, good morning, Doug and everyone. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Next Dugroz data point. We've got quite a few this morning, so I better keep going at a decent clip here. I was looking for flights on Delta not too long ago. Excuse me. Got to blow my nose again. Boy. My body's just betraying me. I got in here with like 20 or 15 minutes or so to spare. And I was like, I just got to go to the bathroom. This won't take very long. I had to go to the bathroom, had to blow my nose, had to take my asthma medicine, had to get a drink of water, had to take an allergy pill. It's like, ugh, come on, body. Anyway, next data point. I was looking for flights on Delta. This is to get us to New York City for the repositioning part of our trip. And one thing I note this coming summer, we're going to Europe. One thing I noticed was that the prices were different for one person versus four people. So this screenshot is one person, $219 right there. And then if I switch it over, this is the price per person for four people. You can see four up at the top, $178. Why would Delta do this? Why would they charge more for one person flying alone? And I know I blacked out the dates, but take my word for it. It's the exact same dates, exact same route, exact same time of day. 3:41 p.m. Des Moines to LaGuardia, 3:41 p.m. Des Moines to LaGuardia, 219 versus 178. My only speculation, as I heard this on Frequent Miler, is maybe the airline thinks if you're flying alone, you're a business traveler and you're just going to expense it off to your company so you don't care how much it costs. But if there's four people, they give you like a bulk discount because they know you're a family. Have any of you ever run into that where like the single person flight is more expensive than the price per person for two or more people? Let me know. Kirby G has arrived. Hello, everyone. Good to see you, Kirby. Next up is a bit of a personal data point here. So tax season just ended, and I had this really good offer on my, well, I think it was on all of my Amex cards, but I used my Blue Business Plus to get 2x membership rewards. I got $55 back after spending $185 on Tax Act. That's 30%. Tax Act is one of those, it's like a competitive TurboTax, and it's the one that I've always used. And almost every year there's some sort of Amex offer. So I thought that was pretty cool. I got 30% cash back. And I think I got an extra 4 or 5 points per dollar spent. I was able to stack two different offers. So that worked out really well. Every once in a while you get one of those really sweet membership rewards, targeted offers. Now, in terms of an offer that didn't go as well, this was on the Wells Fargo side. So I mentioned in a live stream that I had some car repairs done at Christian Brothers Automotive. I actually had an offer on Wells Fargo pop up like 3 days after I finished the stuff. And I'm like, oh. So what I did is I activated the offer. I called Christian Brothers, and they were kind enough to reverse out the charge. It wasn't all on one card, but one of the cards was $400. They reversed that out, charged it to my Wells Fargo business Signify card, the 2X Everywhere business card, so I could get that offer. That was more than 10 days ago. I think that was on the 21st of April, and it still hasn't posted. Now, in the fine print, it says you can use this with any of your Wells Fargo cards, but I'm wondering if it doesn't work for business cards. Does anybody have experience? Have you activated a Wells Fargo offer, then put a charge on your business card with Wells Fargo and gotten the offer? I'd be curious. Maybe it just takes a long time and that's why it's not showing yet. But now that we're like 13 days along, I'm getting a little skeptical here. 46 people on board. Thank you very much. Please click the thumbs up button if you haven't done so already. And consider one of those super chats or super stickers. Next up, again, hat tip Doctor of Credit. Right now, you can redeem Chase Ultimate Rewards for Apple products with up to 50% bonus value. So this is sort of like a 1.5x redemption modifier if you use Ultimate Rewards through Apple. Now, if I remember correctly, I've looked into this before. I've never pulled the trigger. It's like a special portal just for Chase Rewards with Apple. You can still link it to your Apple ID as far as I'm aware, but you don't necessarily have access to every single product. So like if you want to get a refurbished Apple Watch, that might not be an option. But if you're looking to make a big Apple purchase, that's something you might want to look into because that's better than any other way you can use your UR points if you're getting something along the lines of cashing out. Obviously, with transfer partners, you can do better. I suppose the whole Aeroplan trick that I talk about, 1.625 is a little better, but if you're just needing cash to buy an Apple product, I would say this is definitely worth looking into. Let me know if any of you have ever done that. I can't remember if I did this for the current month or the last 30 days already or not, but I would like to recognize the channel members that have been on board for 12 months. We have QC Man 2000, Manuel Jimenez, Tom Graber, and Juan Garcia have all now been Dugroz diehards for 12 full months. Thank you to each and every one of you. I do appreciate your patronage. If you're wondering what a Dugroz diehard is, that's a channel member. It's my one and only channel membership. So when you click on a name, like I'll just use Juan since he's on the list and has said good morning, there's that little squiggly symbol to the right of his name. That means he's a channel member. One and only one membership level. It's $3 a month. You can cancel anytime. Not only do you get early releases and a little bit more attention than everyone else, but also you get access to members only videos. I'm now over 40 members only videos. I just released one this past week that was called Credit Card Temptations, where I talk about cards that I'm tempted to get, but I'm trying to stay strong and not get them. If you want to watch that, the only way is to become a channel member. And again, you can cancel anytime. I would appreciate your support and patronage. If you join while we're on the live stream, a little green thing pops up and we can all celebrate together. David Viejo says, I just got approved for the Aeroplan card. Look forward to using the PYB feature. Thanks for all your tips. Do you think it will be a permanent feature? I do, or at least as permanent as anything can be in the world of points and miles, you know, at least another 3 to 5 years. Now that they've capped the travel point part at 200,000 points annually, I think they've kind of done the math and figured out where their maximum exposure is, so I don't think it's going to go away. Arnold Alley's on board, says, hi, Doug, it's been a bit. Indeed, it has. Good to see you, Arnold. Thanks for being here today. Cesar Joel, mi hermano's on board. Good to see you, Cesar. Thanks for being here and your support. Austin Strand is on board and says, I just used the Chase Portal Apple deal. I got an iPad. There's a Chase Portal in the UR page as an Apple authorized reseller. Okay, that makes sense. So it's not the official Apple page, but it's kind of their own Apple page. And I see Sam K, my friend from the UK, has joined us. Good to see you, Sam. Thanks for being on board this morning. Next Dugroz data point here. We're right here. I had mentioned a couple weeks ago that Taco Bell in conjunction with Upside is quite a good deal. I've seen 21% back. I've seen 24% back. So this is just a circling back to prove that I really did get the cash back. $2.11, which was 24% off my 24% of my $8.79. It's up to $10, but if you're going solo, you would rarely spend more than $10 at Taco Bell. So if you don't want to bother joining the Taco Bell rewards program, just use Upside, and you know it works well with my PayPal debit card. So there's a free Dugroz Eats tip for you. Next data point. Remember that Capital One Venture link for some refer friends that was 100,000 points? And in some cases, you could even get lucky and find a $250 portal credit on top of it. It appears to be dead. Hat tip, Doctor of Credit. They had a referral page. I clicked through 6, 7, 8 different links. Every single one of them was dead. It said the link was expired. So that was one of the ones I was considering doing. I didn't. I don't know if I regret it or not, but too late now. We're back to the regular 75,000 point offer if you were considering the venture. Yuri SBU has arrived, says, hey, Doug, and all. As has Juan Garcia. Oh, wait, Juan was already here. He's just giving a fist bump to Cesar. I see. Next data point. Well, if you were concerned about missing that venture offer, how about the Sapphire Preferred offer? There was an update on Doctor of Credit, and I've seen this other places too, including Frequent Miler, that affiliates have been notified the Chase Sapphire Preferred 100,000 point offer is ending soon, although there's no hard and fast data on exactly when soon is. Bear with me, I'm going to take my inhaler here. I felt just slightly sick ever since I got back from New York. Again, put a comment on any of my videos, not over the live stream, I'll forget it, but like an actual normal comment on any video. If you want my link, I'd be happy to share it with you. But whether you use my link or a player 2 or a friend's link, if you want to do it, I would probably do it by like Wednesday of this coming week. I am planning on having my player 2 do that. And I'm going to try to strategically do it, I think, tomorrow on Sunday, in case we have to call recon. Oh, she would hate calling recon. I hope that doesn't happen. But obviously, she's a teacher, so I don't want to do it like in the middle of a school day and have to have her call. Is this the same one I just did? Indeed. Okay, next Dugroz data point. This hat tip goes to Frequent Miler. There's also a 20% transfer bonus from Capital One to Qantas. That's the Australian airline. I don't know much about Qantas in terms of using it to fly their own product, but I know they do have some fairly cheap flights on American if they're short distance. I think there's a band around 8,000 points if it's less than 800 miles, 1,200 points, 12,000 points if it's less than 1,200 miles. So if you're just flying within the US on American, this might work for some people. Now, in my case, I have truckloads of Alaska miles, and I'm assuming anything that would have been released to Qantas would have also been released to Alaska. So it doesn't apply to me, but let me know if you've ever used Qantas miles for good value on anything in particular. Kirby G says, my mom just referred my dad to the Venture 100K offer. First time she's ever entered player 2 mode. 120,000 points for my parents. They're already asking me what card to get next. As they should. Well, congratulations to them. That is awesome. Awesome sauce. All right, just a few more, and then we will transition into theme number 1, or the mini breakdown. This is with Hilton, and I'd kind of heard about this coming. In fact, Matt Clausen, are you still on board? He did a video about it. This is a screenshot from Hilton, and when I was poking around, thinking about making a booking, I ended up not making it. I noticed there was this option for late checkout for $85.50. I'm not sure how I feel about this, like being able to basically buy your way into late checkout. On one hand, if you really need it, it's nice to have the option. I wish they would give you a points option that was better. On the other hand, I'm afraid that means status is never going to get you late checkout anymore. Now that different places have the options to charge for it. And I don't remember all the details, but I think it was like each hotel can choose certain dates every year, up to 20 dates a year, something to charge for late checkout. So just to show you that it really does exist. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. Could be good, could be bad. I wish Hilton would do something like, if you have, let's just say, gold status, you get 4 late checkouts per year automatically without having to pay for it. And if you're, what's their status above it? I think it's platinum. If you're platinum status, you get 8 per year or something like that. Is my understanding right, Matt, still here, that like each hotel can choose a certain number of days per year to tack on this late checkout for pay? Let me know if you happen to remember that. Tom Graber says, as a new holder of the Aeroplan card, I have a question about the 200,000 point pay yourself back amount. I already transferred more than 200,000 from Chase to Aeroplan this year for booking flights. Can I safely transfer from Amex to cover pay yourself back? This is sort of one of those questions that, like, I think the intent matters. I probably I wouldn't do a full 200,000. My gut feeling, and I can't guarantee this, is like 50,000 or less, you should be okay. When I was booking those Lufthansa flights using Aeroplan, I already had, a certain amount of points in my bank. I then transferred over Amex points and used an amount that was equal to or greater than what I had just transferred over. So if they ever questioned me, I could very reasonably say, these points were used for a flight booking. These points were used for pay yourself back. But there's a giant gray area there. How do they know? Maybe ask me offline, Tom, if you want to shoot the breeze more on that particular topic, because it's very gray. There's not really a firm answer. Yuri says, FYI, my wife got a targeted offer for CSP at 100K in the mail. The offer is good until 6/7/25. Public offer may end earlier. That's a good data point. Might be worth something, might not. Matt adds that if you have the Aspire, that late checkout would get you 34x points. That's a good point. Rex Bleen or Bline is here. Sorry, I'm not sure you pronounce that. I think we've met before, Rex, but it's been a while. Good to see you. Marriott Titanium here. I've never had a problem with the late checkout, but getting upgraded? Nope. Sam K says it's 19 degrees Celsius in the UK and I'm cooking sweet and smoked barbecue beef kebabs. That sounds delicious. Wish you could share some. If we had that teleporter, that would help. Danny A has done a 99-cent super sticker. Thank you, Danny. Celebrate. Awesome. Any amount helps, no matter how big or how small. He also adds, keep up the good work. If you can only have one, Capital One Duo or City Trifecta. Based on what we know right now, I would choose the Capital One Duo easily. I just find lots of handy uses for Capital One stuff, and I'll even mention a little bit of that during my theme of the day today. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate that. 62 people on board. Keep clicking thumbs up. We're getting close to the end of the data points here. Better pull it back up. All right. Is this the one I just did? It is. Okay, next up. This is from View from the Wing. No ding goes unnoticed. Hertz AI X-ray tunnel logs every scratch at 100 airports this year. So what Hertz is doing is they're going to invest in an X-ray tunnel at 100 different airports by the end of this year, where you drive your car through the tunnel and it uses AI to take an X-ray to look for scratches, dents, dings, those kind of things. So it's a more fair way of knowing whether or not you damage the car. Now, again, I'm torn on this. Is this a good thing or is it a bad thing? Who's driving the car through the tunnel? Is it a staff member or is it me? I would want it to be me because I know I'm going to drive carefully. Also, the amount of things that can go wrong between the time the previous driver returned it and when I check it out is great. I think this is only fair if I get to drive it through the tunnel and record everything on the way out and the way back in. I'm afraid that's not how it's going to happen, though. I'm afraid this will become an excuse for if Carl, the guy who works at Hertz and repositions car and vacuums them, is quickly going around a corner and scrapes a pole, or is vacuuming out the car and accidentally slams the canister into the fender and puts a nice dent in it, that they're going to say, oh, look, as you returned it, there was a scratch. When Lenny, the last guy, returned, that scratch wasn't there. So it is concerning for me a little bit. Ron Burns says, I took a video of my rental car before renting based on recommendation. My coworker thought that was a great idea. Thank you, Ron. I did that on my trip, and I do it on both ends, check out and return. No matter how annoyed they get, no matter what the situation, doggone it, I'm going to do it. I've had too many close calls with that. In fact, this most recent return, it wasn't that busy. The Albany, New York airport, it was with Dollar. It was the kind where a guy comes out and meets you and offers you the receipt, and he was going to reposition the car to wherever it needs to go. And I said, I'm going to film it. And he literally just stood there and watched me film it. And I'm like, I don't care if you have to stand there for 5 minutes. I get to do this. Kirby G says, this sounds terrible. I agree that I'm skeptical. Sam says, one day I'd like to travel to the U.S., perhaps in 5 years' times, just not at the moment. Whenever you are ready, Sam, let me know. We'll be glad to share any tips. This is something of a personal nature. I bought a Fitbit, and I bought the kind that has an orange band because at Walmart, the one with an orange band was like $120, and the one without it with a dark black band was like $60. So literally I could just buy the band and pay less than the $40 difference. So I've got it right here. There it is. There's my Fitbit. And I've swapped it out for a elastic band. It's kind of gray. I actually got like a 5-pack. Still deciding what kind of band I like best. The logic there is when I'm traveling and stuff, I want to be able to count my steps and see how far I've watched, keep track of my pulse. Also, it does have a mobile wallet on it, although what I have found with limited research so far is I'm not sure the Fitbit wallet grants you 3x on the US Bank Altitude Reserve. But Altitude Reserve's got some kind of messed up accounting going on right now. See my live stream from Tuesday for a little more details on how that's messed up. So I'll let you know what kind of features I come up with. I know it's kind of weird because Fitbit is a Google product and I have a iPhone, but so far they're working together pretty well. The only thing that you can't do that I'd like to be able to do is you can read your text messages, but you can't respond to them on the Fitbit. But this was like $120, and an Apple Watch would have been over $300. New Again says, happy weekend to all. I always take a quick video of the car before and after, any pics of any damage before I leave the airport, and report it, even if they say it's just superficial. Yeah, I agree. Especially watch out for those windshield chips. Another funny thing about the Fitbit is the second day I had it, I got a little notification that popped up. It says, hey, we auto detected that you went for a swim today. Congratulations on exercising. I didn't go for a swim. I have no idea what they thought I was doing. I was doing some like aerobic, cardiovascular, stretching kind of stuff. Maybe that's what they picked up on. I don't know. Last but not least, just a funny thing here at the Des Moines airport, they have 2 escalators going up to get to security, and one of them, somebody got their high heel shoe stuck in the escalator. It was wedged in so bad they had to shut down the escalator. I had seen memes and that kind of stuff of it happening, but this is the first time I've seen it in real life. So, ladies, don't wear high heels on an escalator. Fair warning. Sam says Fitbit should program their S. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Maybe it's a joke I didn't pick up on. An advertisement interrupted and posted a partial message. Well, let me know when you're ready for the whole thing, Sam. Sorry about that. All right. Let's get into the, what do we call it? What do you call a show before the main show? Like a matinee? Is that it? An opening act? Why am I not thinking of this? The curtain raiser? There's an official term for, like, if you go to, I don't know, a Guns N' Roses concert and some local band opens for them, they call them the opening act, I think, or pre-show. Let's go on to the opening act. Yeah, Rex says pre-show, which is not the main event, but this is a breakdown of my trip to Albany, New York that I took, one of my weekend rip trips. I will do an official breakdown video at some point, hopefully unlike the Springfield one I published just a couple weeks ago. I won't wait 6 months to do it this time. Sorry about that. Where I break down the cost. This is more of just a teaser. So the whole reason I did this trip, not the whole reason, but a major reason I did this trip is because I like to visit presidential graves. And I picked up 3 new ones this weekend. There's 3 within easy driving distance of Albany, New York. On the left is Franklin Delano Roosevelt. In the middle is Chester A. Arthur. I should mention Roosevelt is in Hyde Park, which is about an hour to an hour and a half south of Albany. Chester A. Arthur, he likes to go by Chet, so we'll just call him Chet Arthur, is right in Albany proper. It's called the Albany Rural Cemetery. I'm imagining it's a cemetery that was rural outside of town at one point, but then the town grew, so now it's in town. Very beautiful. That's the nicest looking one. And then on the far right is Old Kinderhook, Martin Van Buren, in the town of Kinderhook, New York, which, according to some random video I watched once, is the least visited of all the presidential graves. Let's see. Both MR and Matt say opening act is right. And then MR says, I'm curious who that Midwest Cinderella was that lost her shoe. I'm assuming some busy businesswoman. Sam says, Fitbit should program their devices to say to the ladies, enough shopping. You've put your spouse through enough walking through 20 stores. Don't torture him more. Okay, Sam. Okay. I'm going to leave that one alone. MR says, I suspect the other shoe and the body was chewed up by the escalator. Escalators freak me out a little bit. Also, MR says, it says, just like an escalator, life has its ups and downs sometimes. Matt Clausen says, Chester accident Arthur. Yeah, Chet became president when Garfield was shot. James A. Garfield was shot and eventually died. Frugal Dad says, I've been to the FDR Library in State many times as I was born and lived maybe 10 miles from there. Oh, okay. All right. Maybe you and Matt Clausen can hang out. He lives in the Hudson Valley general region. Not right there, but in the general region. Let's see here. So my president count coming into this was at 10. Now it's at 13. I'll make my face disappear to make this just a little bit bigger here. And won't read all of these off to you, but maybe someday I'll do a video of what the 13 are thus far. I've got, how many dead ones are there? Roughly 40. I know it's not exactly 40, but roughly 40. So I've got about 27 to go, something like that. I'd have to, subtract out Grover Cleveland being counted twice and all that. That's why I'm saying roughly. Sam says all streams need a little humor. I certainly agree with that. All right, so went to go look at presidents' graves. Another interesting story is while I was at the Chester A. Arthur grave, there was a random guy there who walked up about the time I was finishing taking my pictures and wanted to take pictures of the grave too. His name was Nathan Gross, and he is a semi-professional, high-level amateur photographer. And he told me about an app on the iPhone. I think it's called Photo Booth or something like that you can use to adjust colors and do a mix of black and white color and that kind of stuff. And here's a really cool picture he showed me on his phone, and I asked him if he'd share it with me, and he did. So I think someday when I do like a master video of my presidential grave visits, I'll use this. I'm not sure if this is at the Albany Cemetery or not, but I just thought it was a cool picture. So if you're watching, Nathan, hat tip to you. Maybe this will come up at some future time. And he shared that free of charge. On the travel side itself, so what do you think is happening in this picture? I won't leave you in suspense too much longer. This was the first time I ever took a ride share to the Des Moines airport. Now, I'm not saying it's the first time I've taken a ride share, but in the past, I have always taken my own car and just parked it there. The logic has been the Des Moines airport has economy parking, which isn't that expensive. It's got a fence around it that's like 10 feet tall. I think there might even be barbed wire at the top. Don't quote me on that. It feels pretty safe. I've never had an incident. I've never had a friend have an incident. Obviously, knock on wood, it could happen. $7 a day. So if I travel on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that's 5 days. They count anything over 3 hours as a day. So even just parking like at 7 p.m. on a Friday counts. That's $35. Whereas the ride share was 20-ish on the way there because I got the Chase $10 discount, and then 30 on the way back. So that's $50. 35 is less than 50. So on these short weekend trips, it makes more sense just to park my car at the airport. If you're only talking dollars and cents, obviously there's something nice about being dropped off right out front, not having to ride the little bus that does a circuitous route around the airport. So pros and cons both ways, but just to let you know, I've now entered the realm of those who take rideshare. The logic was I now have teenage boys that have part-time jobs, and we needed to have both of our family cars available because there was one time coming up this weekend where my wife was going to be away for a little while. One of them needed to drive to work, so I had to leave my car at home so that they could take care of that. Matt notes that only 4 former presidents are living: W. Bush, Obama, Biden, and Clinton. You want to do the math for me and tell me how many current graves there are and then subtract out my 13? MR says, Dear Presidents with Dugroz sounds like a capital idea. If you just change the capital AL to OL, you could even get it on me visiting state capitals. Robert says, wow, Photo Booth was an ancient Mac app. Haven't heard that one in ages. It might not be called Photo Booth. It might be called something else. Let me look real quick here. I thought I put it on my phone, even though I haven't used it yet. Where did it go? Guess not. Sorry about that. Psych. Photo something. I don't know. Let me know if you know what it is. It's something where you can like use AI to very easily edit things. MR clarifies dead. Dead Presidents with Dugroz sounds like a capital idea. That does sound like a good name. All right. First time I ever took rideshare. And then while I was there in Albany, I got around in my Jeep Compass. I think it's called a Compass. Funny story is that my first couple rip trips, I forgot to take pictures of my rental cars, or I had one really crappy picture. So now I'm endeavoring to get a picture. It was slightly drizzly and rainy all day Saturday and Sunday. But when I was driving back to my Airbnb from the from the Martin Van Buren grave, there was an abandoned What's a big pharmacy chain that went out of business about 2 to 5 years ago? Like, it's not Rexall, it's not CVS, but something along those lines. One of those abandoned pharmacies, I just pulled into the parking lot because the sun was just right and quickly took this picture. Rite Aid, that's it. You got it, Ron. It was Rite Aid. I pulled into an abandoned Rite Aid and took this picture just somewhere in, this is Catskill or Hudson, I believe, one of those. The first day I was there, one of my goals was to do some family genealogy research. And honestly, I didn't have very much success. The Rose line we can trace back to somewhere around 1797 in Greene County, New York. And I was hoping I could find some documents on ancestors to know what country they came from. I found some hypotheticals that there were people with the same last name that came from England in the 1600s, but I couldn't find the definitive link to my known ancestors. But I did take this cool picture with a newspaper from 1801 that they actually just let me page through. I just had to promise to wash my hands and be careful with it. Maybe I'll go over that sometime. Here's a picture of some, maybe these are my relatives. Hold on. I drug this into the wrong tab. Some pictures of some people from the early 1800s that are maybe my relatives. 1880. Okay, make that late 1800s. Can't know for sure if they're my relatives or not. And then let's see. I need to resize this window. Some of this will be an overlap from my covered Tuesday. I promise most won't be. So please hang in there. But I need to now show you something else here. Bear with me just a second. There should be some audio here. So I was just standing there looking at the grave of FDR, and this happened. So yeah, Matt Clausen from the Matt Clausen YouTube channel was just like walking down the sidewalk at the FDR memorial, and I was like, hey, it's Matt Clausen. I know you. Why don't we hang out for a little while? So we went to supper together, took a picture in front of a Mexican restaurant. Oop, now I got to share that screen. Stop screen, present, share screen, share this screen. We went to supper at we were going to go to a Mexican restaurant, but there was a live band playing, and the only booth available was like 3 down from where the live band was. And I'm like, I'll be honest, I won't be able to hear you and we'll have to yell at each other. So we diverted and ate somewhere else, but that picture wasn't as good. So I saved this picture. So it was fun to hang out with Matt and have our own little miniature meetup. Thanks for tolerating me, Matt. It was fun. And then this is just a picture from the FDR museum that I took. And here's one that Matt took for me. So photo credit to him. That's standing in front of FDR's house. Unfortunately, the last house tour of the day had already left by the time we got there. So I'll have to do that part some other time. But I did get to do the museum part. Let me catch up on comments here just a little bit. Matt says, as far as presidents, that'd be 41 graves minus 13 makes 28 to go. Thank you. I was in the ballpark. Clairvoyant has arrived, says good morning, and says 2 wise men pondering their life and impacts on the world. That's absolutely what it was. Sam K says he didn't see it. Google interrupted for me. Oh, sorry about that. So Matt and I got together for a quick meetup. MR says, I love and hate mariachis. I don't think they were mariachis. I don't remember. Frugal Dad says, you two look like you could be related. Interesting. Well, who knows? Maybe we are. Rex says 400 credit cards in one frame. Doubt it's that many. Clairvoyant says, how did you get so tall in that pic, Doug? Tell the truth. That's why you chose it. Well, I'm like 6'5", so, you know. Apparently, we have some very loose way of measuring heights in our community. And then I also just wanted to showcase the Airbnb that I stayed at for the middle 2 nights of my trip. Friday night was just a fly-in day, and I stayed at a Staybridge Suites. I have a shorts video out there if you want to see it. And if you're a diehard, I have a blooper shorts video where I had a little incident at the hotel. Got to be a member to see what that is all about. The middle 2 nights I stayed at this Airbnb, and then the last night, which was Monday going into Tuesday when I flew home, I stayed at a Crown Plaza by IHG. I had my wife had a free night cert, and I had a free night cert, so I used them both up before they were set to expire at the end of this month. This is an Airbnb called Guest Suite in Accra, ACRA. That's the name of a very small town. Very nice. It was kind of like a tiny cabin, but not really, but much more than about 2 people would be crowded. There's a loft upstairs where kids could sleep, so I was good with it. This is the kitchen. So for those of you who haven't heard the story, back in 2021 or 2022, because it was still kind of COVID time and people weren't traveling, Chase was offering pay yourself back on a bunch of weird random categories like groceries, gas, pharmacy on your CSR, CSP to get people to not dump the card. At the time, I had a CSP and they were doing pay yourself back on Airbnb. And I found out that it would trigger pay yourself back as an option if you bought an Airbnb gift card in the Airbnb app. I had just come off having a really good experience at an Airbnb in Yorktown, Virginia, and thought to myself, I'm going to use this constantly. So I bought $1,000 worth of Airbnb gift cards. I still haven't quite used it up. My app shows I have $100 in gift cards and $100 in credits. I'm assuming the credits because I booked something using a gift card and then canceled it. Or no, I remember when I stayed in Yorktown, I got locked in the bathroom and the key later broke. So because the guy felt bad, he gave me two $50 credits. So I still have those credits. That's a story for another day. So anyway, I've still got around $200 in Airbnbs. I still haven't polished off, but I got a lot closer on this trip. Very nice. 5 out of 5 stars. Would recommend. Hit me up offline if you want to know specifically where it is. It's about an hour southwest of Albany. This is the view from the back porch. Look at that view. Oh, that zooms in a little too much. You can see out over the mountains. Now, I don't remember if these are the Catskills or the Adirondacks, but whatever. There's also a walking trail down here. Now, I didn't have time to do the walking trail, so I'm not sure how that would have been. I'm assuming it would have been awesome. This is what the Airbnb looked like from the front. It was called Guest Suite. It was sometimes also called the Loft. You can see some purple flowers down here. Tell you, I love traveling in April and October. It's just the ideal time for these weekend getaways. Zoomed out picture of the whole place. It was a cloudier day when I took this picture. So the suite goes from about here to about here. There's a little foyer or narthex with laundry that's only for you, but you can turn left and go into my unit or turn right and go into a different unit because this is also an Airbnb over on the right. It's called Mountaintop Studio. Mine's called Guest Suite or Guest Loft, much smaller. But you do get to park right out front. I don't know if they enter on this door or not. That's beside the point. But the laundry is just for you, so you get your own laundry machine, which is pretty sweet. SUITE, SWEET, play on words. This is out the back window at sunset. Mwah, can't beat that. That's pretty awesome. And then I also stopped by Caterskill or Catterskill Falls, not too far from Catskill, which is a one of those tall, skinny type of waterfalls. It's got a viewing platform. Unfortunately, it was kind of cold this day, so it wasn't, the best experience ever I've had going to a waterfall. The one in West Virginia was a little nicer, both in terms of looks as well as in terms of the weather cooperating when I went there a year ago. But we'll play this video now. Let's see. We're going to stop the screen. We're going to present. We're going to share screen. It gives me this pop-up every single time. Wish it wouldn't do that. So let's listen to some calming waterfall sounds and watch it. So that's it. That's Catterskill Falls. Pretty awesome, even though it was a little on the chilly side. And then back to what I was showing here. All right, let me take just a few seconds to catch up on comments here. Heard that. Okay, Clairvoyant says, so, oh yeah, we talked about that, how tall I am. Yuri SBU says, nice you caught up with Matt. I hope you went together to redeem your Hilton gift cards for a meal, LOL. Filmo is also somewhere near that neck of the woods, I think. Yeah, Filmo was about 3 or so hours away by car, and we communicated about possibly catching up. We had schedules, we had stuff going on, and it just didn't work out this particular time, unfortunately. I didn't use any Hilton gift cards. I've got a plan for them this summer, so stay tuned on that front. Matt says, I don't have any Hilton gift cards. Excellent. RemGB says, good morning, Dugroz. Everybody click the like button. Thank you for the reminder. We dropped down from the 70s into the 60s. Maybe people don't like this stuff as much, but when we get to the main event, I think we'll get back up there, and this will help drive people in. Yuri says, to Matt, Hilton gift card comment was a failed attempt of P&M humor. Points and miles, humor. Understood. Roger that. Matt says, I think those are the Shawangunk Mountains. That's a name I'm not familiar with, but that's okay. And then putting the last leg together here of what happened in the greater Albany area. He also says it's closer to the Catskills. I'll say Catskills. Makes sense. This is the state capital with an OL of the state of New York. You might think the capital of New York is New York City since it's the biggest city, but no, it's Albany. Go upriver 3, 4, or 5 hours, something like that. More if you're taking a riverboat. So I also have the very nerdy goal of visiting all the state capitals sometime in my life. So far, I've got Indiana, Louisiana, Illinois, and now New York. So I'm only on 4. I'm not as far along with the capitals as I am with presidential graves. With presidential graves, you can sometimes catch 2 or 3 in one state. Each state only has one capitol building, so that one takes a little more spread outness. But I think that's a fun way to use points and miles. Here's the inside of the Capitol. Very lovely. Here's one of the staircases. 2 things this made me think of. One is I kind of pine for the days when we gave a crap about how things looked because, yes, it was probably expensive. In fact, it definitely was. But, man, that just looks cool, and it's very enduring. This was built in the, I think, very late 1800s, like 1896 or something like that, although construction took 12 years and, over budget and all that. Second thought is it looks like something from Legend of Zelda, the one from, especially the one that's the Super Nintendo version. What's that called? It's the one that has the light world and the dark world. Brian Jackson, you on board? You'll know what I mean. The Super Nintendo Legend of Zelda game. It reminds me of that with all these passageways and stuff. There's a view through one of the windows to the courtyard. They have these statues carved all over the place. This is Ulysses S. Grant and 2 other random soldiers, just hand carved into pillars, like 100 of them all over the place. This is the ceiling that they thought would eventually lead to a dome, but then they couldn't afford to do a dome, so they just painted it on the ceiling. Cool stuff there. Mural. There is a nearby tallish building, 40-some stories you can go up in. They have an observation deck, and you can look down and take pictures of the Capitol, so that's kind of fun and interesting. Here's me in the aforementioned tallish building looking down the Capitol. Obviously, taking a picture with someone standing in front of a window never turns out real well. There's a random thing in Albany downtown called The Egg, which is like a performing arts center, and it really does look like someone took an egg and cut off about the top 40% and put it on stilts. My understanding is it's kind of a small, intimate theater. It can hold 200 or 300 people, and bands and stuff come, dramas, those kind of things. You have to go in the bottom, take an elevator. I wanted to go inside, but by the time I got around to my tour being done, all the doors were locked. Here's the aforementioned tall building. Now, I've got a story to go along with this. Some of you heard it on Tuesday. I have the resolution to the story. At the bottom of the moderately tall building, see that blue Jeep Cherokee? That's mine right there. Whoops, zoomed in a little too far. You can see my rental car right there. And there's like a yellow curb right behind me and a plain curb ahead. So I thought I was totally fine to park there. I might have overlapped the back of the yellow area just ever so slightly. You can see the egg there in the picture. But what happened was I took this picture. That's the wrong one. Not this picture. I took this picture on my phone as I parked. So I had used Google Maps to map out exactly where I was going to park to tour the Capitol, and they only have 3 tours a day. The last one leaves at 2:00. So I'm like, I got to get there by 2:00. I talked to Nathan in the Chester Arthur Cemetery, and that's like, I got to get over there. I want to have plenty of time. Knew where there's a parking garage. Went to the parking garage that's designed for visitors to the Capitol. Pulled in. The attendant says, like, why are you here? And I'm like, this is Capitol parking, but whatever. I'm here to tour the Capitol. I was like, you can't park here. I'm like, are you sure? It says public parking. He's like, nope, there's a private event today. You have to be a part of that private event, be allowed to park here. I'm like, well, where do I park? It's like, well, just follow the signs. There's probably some more parking, or maybe you'll get lucky and find street parking. So I go out, follow the signs. It's like, all these one-way streets. There's another parking garage kind of underneath the plaza that leads to the tall buildings, the government buildings, and the egg. And it's 100% full. No parking spots at all. So I'm like, crap, I'm going to miss my tour because all the parking's full. Finally come out of that underground area. I'm going up side streets. I find this parking spot, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness. It's kind of far away, but I'm like, I'll still make it. So I park here. I take a picture to make sure I knew where I'm parked, make sure I followed the rules and everything. And if you look at the sign here, the arrow point to the right is loading and unloading zone only. So I'm not allowed to park there. But meter parking 8 to 3. I'm like, great. This is 1:33 p.m. I'm going to park here. Apparently, once you hit 3:00, parking's just free. And that's the way it is in lots of cities. Like in downtown Des Moines, I think after 4:00, parking's free. After 5:00, I'm like, 3 is a little on the early side, but that's cool, whatever. I take the Capitol tour, I get done, I start driving away, and I'm on the freeway, and I notice something's flapping on my windshield. And I'm like, crap, I got a parking ticket, didn't I? And I'm on the interstate, so I can't just pull over. But so I'm slowing down a little, trying to keep it under 60 so the ticket doesn't blow away. Finally get pulled over, grab the ticket. Yep, got a $50 parking ticket. And it said, because I was parking in an area for bus loading and unloading only. And my first thought, this is what I told everyone on Tuesday, is I thought like the last 4 to 6 inches of my bumper overlapped the sign. I'm like, are they really that anal retentive that they're going to give me a ticket for 4 inches of my bumper overlapping the sign? There was an email address on there where it says if you have questions or want to dispute this, you can email this email address. So I did, and I said, hey, look, I took a picture. You can clearly see that I'm parked in front of the sign, not behind the sign, thinking maybe the supervisor will have some common sense or something. They email me back and say, sorry, Dugroz, that's not the reason you got a ticket. If you look at the picture our meter maid took and zoom out a little, you can see the spot you're parked in actually becomes bus parking only after 3 p.m. So they sent me this picture. And when you zoom out, remember how that's as far as I can zoom in. The picture was kind of cut off right here, and it says meter parking till 3. I didn't notice the sign above it says no parking except buses 3 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. And I'm like, who in the world decided to put the sign for the parking that ends at 3 p.m. on the bottom and the parking after 3 p.m. on the top? Because human nature is you read top to bottom. So if you're wanting to know what the last thing of the day is, you look at the last entry chronologically. You don't look at the first entry chronologically. I was in a hurry. Yes, I should have slowed down. And yes, I should have read the sign carefully. But like, what was the timestamp on the first one? 1:33. I was like, I don't know how long it's going to take. It felt like I was a half mile away from the Capitol. I got there in plenty of time, but I felt like I was hurrying. So I was rushing around. I had to walk up to the meter thing, which is, 10 or so spots ahead and pay. And I didn't notice it. The good thing is the story of it doesn't hurt to ask actually came into play here simply because I asked and said it was kind of confusing. They dropped the parking ticket from $50 down to $30. So that was a minor success at least. All right, let's catch up on some comments here. We got 70 people on board. Keep hitting thumbs up and see what we got going on. Sam says YouTube wants $150 a year to not show me adverts. That's 155 pounds, or show them still under a lame excuse. They'll still have to show more likely. Is Google trustworthy? LOL. I don't know. Some people like Chad Pennycuff swear by Google Premium. Long Way Travels arrived. Hi, everybody. Dropping in from Cairo. Is that Cairo, New York? Were you also in New York? Or the Egyptian version? Pursuit of Hoppiness. Hey, I don't think we've met before. It says, hope you enjoyed my home state of West Virginia. I loved West Virginia. I've been there twice. It's probably my favorite domestic travel destination so far. Matt Clausen says the Juneau trip will be interesting. And since you can't drive to there and there's no trains in, it will be. I thought you can drive there if you go through Canada, but you probably know better than I do, so that's probably right. City Hall likes to play technicalities. You can use this to your advantage. It goes both ways. Use a paint striper next time. Frugal says, welcome to New York. I've got a little bit of that in my main event, so hang in there. DZ to USA. Hey, DZ, how you doing? Says, did you see the parking signs in DC? The most craziest, this sign looks innocent in comparison. I didn't try driving in DC proper. We only used a rental car for when we went out Alexandria and parts west to get to the Salamander Resort. Kirby says, I just got approved for the CSP during the stream. We'll celebrate. That's awesome. Samson says, pay the fine the smallest currency possible as long as you got plenty of wheelbarrows. If I lived locally, I would consider it. But since I was 500 miles away, I went with credit card. Robert says, I definitely pay for YouTube Premium. I can't stand ads. Saying hi to Michael with Long Way Travel. And Sam says, autocorrect absolutely sucks. And indeed it does. Hey, let's keep going. We're getting close. The last kind of historical thing I stopped at, this was almost mock-worthy funny, is on the way to the Crown Plaza, not too far the way I saw on Google Maps, there was I think it knows that I like landmarks, so it like recommends thing. It recommended a landmark for the General Henry Knox Cannon Trail marker. So what it is during the Revolutionary War, the early part of the Revolutionary War, like right after Bunker Hill, us Americans, sorry, Sam, captured Fort Ticonderoga and commandeered several British cannons. And Henry Knox was the guy who later became Secretary of War and basically through the middle of winter pulled 20 cannons from Ticonderoga down to Boston, which, nowadays would be a 4-hour trip, but back then was several weeks in cold using oxen to haul it. So this is a marker commemorating that journey, which helped us win the Battle of Boston. But it's funny because it was out in front of a Masonic lodge, and it's just this little tiny plaque. I thought it would be like a big monument of some kind, but nope, just this plaque on a thing. Through this place passed General Henry Knox in the winter of 1775 and 76 to deliver to General George Washington at Cambridge the train of artillery from Fort Ticonderoga used to force the British Army to evacuate Boston, erected by the state of New York. Something I can't quite read what rest of it says there, but there's literally no Google reviews, so I'll get to be the first one. Talk about minor historical marker. That's my kind of thing. And then on the way home, flying home, I went not too far from Greenville, South Carolina, and I know Anthony Venture lives there. So I sent him a text message, said, hey, look out your window. I'll wave at you. You wave at me. So we waved at each other as the plane went by. And then this is kind of interesting, too. There's an app called Flightly. Do any of you use it? Raise your hand if you do. It keeps track of all the flights you've taken. Now, obviously, this isn't all the flights I've taken in my Points of Miles life, but of the ones I've put into Flightly, it's like $3.99 a week. And obviously for an intermittent traveler like me, it makes more sense to do weekly than annual. You can turn it on and off, but basically it sends you all the alerts of like where your plane is at, when they're boarding, gate changes, seat changes, any useful piece of information. And somehow in my experience, it gets it before the network does. So like any change of gates or something like that, Flightly sent me the notice like 5 minutes before Delta did. Even to the point where it like would tell you your layover has gotten shorter or longer, and it'll give you like a red to green bar of like your layover is comfortable, your layover is tight. So I think it's worth $4 a week when traveling. And obviously in my case, I just paid for 1 week and then turned it off. So here's all the different flights that I've taken tracked on Flightly. So that is something, as far as I know, there's not like a refer a friend link, but feel free to, say, hey, Dugroz referred me. I did have to pay before I knew I was going to get a ticket. I paid for parking, $1.83, and that went on my Wells Fargo autograph card, and I did get the bonus. So 2 points normal, 4 extra, so 3x functionally. Got my 6 points on my $1.83 in parking. I also put the fine on there. I don't know if that'll code as travel or transit or not, but I thought, hey, let's give it a shot. I don't love the way Wells Fargo displays their points. They show the base and bonus separately, and sometimes they're not even adjacent to each other. But it is what it is. Austin Strand just signed up to be a Dugroz diehard. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you, Austin. I hope you enjoy those members-only videos. All right, that was the last of the opening act. So now we'll move on to the theme of the day. Bear with me here. I closed my Google Slides. Got to reopen those. Dun, 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 dun. There it is. Okay. So today's theme of the day is unexpected travel issues and the card to deal with them. Some of these have credit cards that deal with them. Some of them just have common sense things to deal with them. So I used my Adobe Spark program and AI and all their copyright-free images, or they're not copyright-free, but if you pay for it, which I do, you get to use them. And apparently I just typed in accidents and detours or mishaps or mistravel or something. And the two things that came up were a detour sign, which makes sense. And apparently the other terrible accident you can have in your life is dropping your ice cream bar and having it melt, which that would be terrible. So these are the unexpected travel issues and the cards to deal with them. Let's go ahead and dive in here. So what is unexpected? In this context, I have to say, it could be one of two things. It could be surprises, like an airplane mechanical problem, so you end up having to spend the night at the airport or near the airport. That's a surprise. You can't really plan for it. The other is things you might not account for. And these are things you probably should have thought of, or at least could have researched out, but for whatever reason you didn't. Whether it's human error, you're a newbie. Obviously, a lot of the things I've picked up on have just been through trial and error. So learn from my mistakes. But even on this trip I took, there were things I didn't account for that I probably should have accounted for. Disclaimer, this list is obviously not exhaustive. This is just stuff that popped into my mind. So let's go ahead and get started. One thing you can do to prepare is I've got my little baggie here that I put in my carry-on of cords, like chargers. So make sure you bring plenty of chargers for your mobile phone, if you have a sound machine, if you have a laptop you need a charger for, whatever. Bring a variety of plugs because you never know what you're going to have. Some hotels have the USB ports that are the A variety. Some have the C variety. Some don't have any USB ports. You have to plug it into plain old electricity. Obviously, if you're traveling overseas, make sure you know what voltage they have and have the correct adapter. And then because I'm paranoid, I write my name and phone number on it too. So if I drop it, somebody can catch up with me. I actually was walking through one of the airports on my trip. I don't remember which one. And my backpack was slightly unzipped and a pair of socks fell out. And a very nice airport employee who was driving one of those golf cart things with a handicapped person said, "Sir, your socks, look at your socks." Oh, thank you. Before we dive in, I'm going to catch up on a couple comments here. Matt says, more Benedict Arnold deletion. I get it. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by deletion, but obviously I'm quite familiar with Benedict Arnold. I actually was thinking of driving up to the Boot Monument, which is sort of the awkward best attempt of America to honor Benedict Arnold's contributions to the war. They basically made a monument to him with a picture of a boot on it, and it says something like, and this is a tribute to the general who was very instrumental in winning the Battle of Saratoga, who we're not going to name. Sort of like, we know you helped us out, but because you later betrayed us, you don't get to have your name on a monument. But it was too far away. I didn't have a chance. Sam says the apple pie recipe was first recorded in England in 1381. That makes it ironic when people say that's as American as apple pie because it's actually English. New Again says, I was just at Fort Ticonderoga by chance a couple months ago. It was a super cool place for an impromptu picnic and walk empty on a Saturday too. Awesome. So maybe when I try to get to the Vermont capital, I'll head over there someday. Austin says, the ice cream is the worst tragedy in the world. When I was a little boy, like 2 years old, my parents say I dropped ice cream twice. Like I was walking down some stairs at a hotel in Florida, and I dropped my ice cream on the stairs and started crying. So they went and bought me another one, and I dropped it again on the stairs. And in a little boy voice, I said, I did it again. Sam is still not quite enjoying YouTube advertisements. And also asks eyeglasses. We just say glasses here. Eyeglasses, glasses. I will take either one. Austin Strand says a power strip is a great thing for the backpack. That's a good point. And Wells says Wells needs Wells. I called you Wells, Matt. Matt says Wells need to fix the reward nonsense. That's funny. All right, back to the theme of the day, main event here. Let's get started. All right, number one is the busy or lazy server. So this is a actual story that happened on this trip. On Friday, I was flying out somewhere around 5:30 in the afternoon. I got to the airport. I'd been busy. I had to work that day and pack. So I was trying to pack during breaks and be creative and work while putting things away, kind of, sort of, maybe not the most efficient work day in the world. And by the time I got to the airport, I realized it was like 4. I realized I had literally not eaten anything the entire day. Now, there's no lounges in the Des Moines airport. It's too small. There are 2 restaurants. One of them is the one I decided I'm going to stop at a restaurant, eat real quick. I got there early enough. It wasn't that tight. It was a little tight. They were like steady busy, but not like overwhelmed busy. And this is what I got, a burger and fries. It was not great. I mean, it was okay, but I mean, I was hungry, so I ate it. So here's the dilemma. The problem is, where is the waitress? So after I ordered, got my food, got my drink, I was done eating. The waitress was nowhere to be found. And they don't have like a desk up at the front where you can pay. You have to pay the waitress. Had my Wells Fargo autograph ready to go. I even stood up like awkwardly on purpose, hoping she would notice me. I didn't see her for a while. She walked out, took the bill of another guy, took it in the back. I'm like, oh, surely she'll only be a minute or two. No, she didn't show up for like 5 more minutes. Boarding starts in like 5 minutes. So I'm like, where is the waitress? She just wasn't coming. She just wasn't coming. And eventually I get to the point where it's like, I gotta go. Boarding has already started, or at least it will within the next 2 or 3 minutes. Thankfully, Des Moines is not a very big airport, but as you'll see later in this video, being late for boarding can be a problem. So the solution, cash money. So I'm not sure how much my meal cost, but it was less than $30. So I got out a 20 and a 10, tucked under the edge of the tray, and just went on my merry way. I don't know how much of a tip she got, and it may not be entirely her fault. They were, like I said, steady busy, but they didn't seem super busy to me. They had like other people bringing the food out, but that's beside the point. Whether it was her fault or not, I had to leave. Being on time is more important than getting the points. So yes, I would have gotten probably 60 Wells Fargo points, or no, 30 times 3, 90 Wells Fargo points. Actually, that's a pro tip for the Wells Fargo autograph. If you're in like a restaurant in an airport, is it going to code as travel or is it going to code as dining? Doesn't matter. Either way, those are both 3X categories. So that's kind of nice. Not ready for that. Let's go back here. Sam Case, there's a new law to power stripping in the airport. New Again says, can't call someone a traitor when they were serving their nation. Let's not forget the revolutionaries were rebels and terrorists. I feel like this is going to head down a path I don't want to head down, but that's a fun topic. So let's come back to that some other day. Maybe I need to do alternate channel of like Dugroz's political views. So last fall, when we were having, we all knew we were going to have the creator meetup in New Orleans, and it was scheduled for Labor Day weekend, which was like September 1st, roughly. obviously there was an election coming up in early November. So like you had September and October, that was it. And on one of the chats, I encouraged everyone, can we all just agree to not talk about politics? And most people were cool with that because I just knew it would ruin it if we spent the meetup talking politics, because half the people would end up hating the other half. Hating's too strong a word. I think you can disagree in a respectful manner, but that's not why I want to go. I want to talk points and miles. And I said something kind of half jokingly like, all right, let's all agree not to talk about anything political that happened after the FDR administration. And Matt Clausen jokingly said something like, well, I've got some pretty strong opinions on the election of Rutherford B. Hayes, or something like that. Newigan says, don't get mad at me. I did not rewrite history. I'm not saying you did. Maybe I'll start a whole nother channel that's like Dugroz's views on historical stuff. So I think we can safely talk about the American Revolution without letting strong emotions get in the way. Just not going to take that up on this particular live stream. Maybe some other time. Zoop. That. Okay. Next, number 2. How do you run out of cars? The problem. Car rental places can let you down. They can run out of cars. They can lose your reservation, etc. Reminds me of that Seinfeld clip is, you're good at taking the reservation. You're not very good at holding the reservation. So this story goes back to 2021 in the fall. Actually, the first time I went to West Virginia, I went there in college, but the first time I went to West Virginia in my points and miles journey, I flew into Pittsburgh. And in the fall of 2021, we were still kind of doing the whole COVID thing. And obviously in 2020, a bunch of rental car companies were losing business, on the verge of bankruptcy. I think at least one did go bankrupt. So they sold off like 2/3 of their cars to prevent from going bankrupt. And then by the time you get to a little over a year later, in the fall of 2021, some people are starting to travel again. We're kind of right on the cusp where revenge travel hadn't started yet, but enough people were starting to travel to make it an issue. In the fall of 2021, I had a reservation with Avis. I get there, they literally had run out of cars. And it was like, we're sorry, folks. And basically they were saying, as a car comes in, we'll clean it as fast as we can, or you can choose to forego the cleaning and take it. But people were waiting in line for people had already been waiting in line for an hour and a half when I got there. And you can tell there's a lot of frustrated people in this picture. And they put up a sign that says sold out, no cars. So if you're thinking of walking up, don't even try. And the problem is people would return their cars late, or they'd get in a minor car accident, or they'd get the dates wrong. And yeah, Avis can charge them more, but they didn't have any sort of cache of extra cars to fall back on. So that particular time, I unfortunately had to forego my first activity, which was a huge bummer. I walked to the hotel, which was a Hyatt. Thankfully, it was right next to the airport, and they had a skywalk thing you could take. And made arrangements with Dollar, which was in the background here, right next door, to rent the next day. So ever since then, I've come up with a solution. Book a backup rental car. So on the right here, you'll see I have an email I sent to myself called Backup Albany Rental Alamo Car Rental Confirmation. So I did my booking that I was planning on keeping through Dollar, but I also went through a portal and did a backup booking with Alamo. And I was only planning on using the Alamo if something went wrong with Dollar. If I got there and they'd gotten shut down by the State Department of Motor Vehicles, or ran out of cars, or no employees showed up that day or something. Fortunately, I didn't have any problems. But if I had needed a backup, I would have had that reservation ready to go. A couple things worth noting is make sure it's pay at the counter. Obviously, if you pay in advance, you may not be able to get a refund. And make sure there's no penalty for no-show. For these backup rentals, instead of going directly through the carrier, I would usually go through Priceline, Orbitz, Expedia, something like that. And they usually have two options. One is pay at the counter, one is pay now. And the pay now is usually $10, $20, $40 cheaper Don't do that though. Do pay at the counter even though it costs more. And then look at the fine print and make sure there's not a no-show penalty. Some places, I know Hertz does this. If you don't cancel before your booking starts, I think you actually have to cancel like an hour in advance. They do charge like a $30 no-show fee. So make sure that's not the case. And to be more specific, don't put in your wizard number or frequent renter number or rewards member number, whatever it is. In fact, the only 3 car rental places I have accounts with are Hertz, Enterprise, and Avis. I don't use Avis much anymore because I've had bad taste put in my mouth. But for the backups, I'm only going to book with like Alamo, Dollar, Budget, places that I don't have a frequent driver account. So don't put your number in even if it's an option, because like with Hertz, if you book through Priceline, if you book through the Capital One portal, if there's an option to put in your renter number, it'll flow through to the app and show up on your frequent renter account. And then they can charge you that no-show fee because they have a credit card on file. So for the backup, just have a backup. Don't put in your number. Someday I'll do a video with all the details on my rental car strategies and how I book backups and that kind of stuff. Let me know if you think that would be interesting. I would really appreciate it. Catching up on some comments here. Where were we? Matt Kloss said, Benedict Arnold played a huge role in the Ticonderoga venture with Knox, but he often gets forgotten often, or only the failures are highlighted. That's true. I have a whole series of DVDs on the Revolutionary War. Chad says, I have a UK friend who sends me a happy Trader Day message every 4th of July. I love it. I would like that too. You know, like sometimes you'll type something in that was like poking fun at a tragedy or something, and someone will say, too soon. You know, I don't think the American Revolution is too soon. I think 230 plus years down the pike. Actually, we're coming up on 250, aren't we? Sheesh. I think we're over it by now. In fact, when I was in Washington, D.C. Last summer, which was 23, they said the reason why so many things are under renovation, like the downtown D.C. Smithsonian Air and Space Museum, half of it was closed, is because all these venues want to be ready for the 250th anniversary in 2026. So they're all doing the renovations now, which stunk a little bit. Sam says, perhaps make a channel called Dugroz Resorts, or maybe Retorts. Dugroz Retorts would be good. That's a good idea. And there was something the other day. What was it? It was like a YouTube short or something that made a passing reference to the Hindenburg disaster where the dirigible caught on fire and some people died and it crashed in New Jersey. I think it was around 100 years ago. And somebody said too soon in the comments. I don't know if they had a smiley face or not. And I said, how long does it have to be before it's too soon? Do you have to get to 150 years? MR says, during COVID, all those rental car companies sold off a lot of their fleets. Car outages were normal. Yep, absolutely. Sam reminds everyone to smash the like button, and it's totally free and most appreciated. It is. We're hovering right around 70 people. I'd like to get up into the 80s. Don't know if it'll happen or not. Chad Pennycuff says, Costco Travel is an excellent portal. You don't pay till you get there, and there's no fees for cancellation. Thanks, Chad. That's a good idea. If you didn't have a Costco close to your house, let me ask you this. Would you get a Costco membership just for that? Take out your insane gift card buying with Disney. What do you think I should? General question. MR says, Avis, Hertz, and Enterprise all own all the other brands except Sixt, I think. That's true. I made a chart once that's like budget is to Avis as dollar is to Enterprise, or Hertz rather. Yeah, budget is to Avis as dollar is to Hertz, as Alamo is to Enterprise. I think that's how it goes. But then National also owns Enterprise, and they're like the only like even higher brand. I made a chart once. I'll have to break it out. However, they don't crisscross frequent like traveler programs. So even though Hertz and Dollar are owned by the same parent company, and in fact, you'll often find situations where they're literally in the same booth. I think I've got one here. Let me show you. There it is right there. Yeah, right there. Hertz and Dollar are literally in the same same booth. Like I walked up to the dollar side and they sent me over to the Hertz side, even though I was checking out a dollar car. They don't swap your frequent driver program. So even though I have like a membership plan with Hertz, that does nothing if I rent on the dollar side. So I can safely book dollar as a backup through Priceline or something like that. New Again says, use your member number if you have high status, as a company initiated cancels is one of the CPL ways car status matters. Higher status decreases order of getting bumped. Car companies need to overbook. I agree with you. My head is behind your logo. That's better. I agree with you if we're talking about your primary. So like, yes, if I book with Hertz and that's what I'm planning on using, I'll put in my member number and that should make it less likely for me to get bumped. But for my backup booking, I will not. So thank you for clarifying that, New Again. I appreciate it. MR says, oh, the humanity. QC Man celebrates 13 months of channel membership. Celebrate. And Quality Control says that's true. 250 is next year in 2026. So not this coming July, but a year from July. Sam says, let's Americanize the 4th of July. There's a joke out there of like when you're in another country, say like, do they have the 4th of July in France or do they have the 4th of July in England? Like, of course they have it. They don't skip from the 3rd to the 5th. Actually, I'll be over there on July. Will it be that date? I don't remember the exact date. I might be in Europe on 4th of July. Hold that thought. Manuel Jimenez says Costco travel is good for backup, presumably. QC Man says it'll be the 200th anniversary of Adams and Jefferson's death. Did they die exactly 50 years after 1776? That's interesting. Manuel says car rentals are still expensive in Maui. I would imagine that. Chad says I'd probably pivot to Sam's or BJ's if I didn't have a local Costco, but before buying the Orlando house, I did make sure a Costco was available. Does Sam's Club have some sort of car rental membership also? I do have a Sam's Club much closer. Chris Sevi says Costco mortgages were surprisingly good. There's also Costco online shopping and Costco Next. Well, and of course, you have to get the Costco Gold bars too. QC Man gifted a Dugroz Reports membership. Hey, that's just as good as a $3 super chat. Celebrate. Thank you, QC Man. I appreciate it. By the way, we're a little light on the super chats today. Not upset, but sure would be nice to get my numbers back up. I had kind of a down month last month, totally my own fault because I canceled one live stream and I postponed another one. Sam says, you need a green screen to keep yourself on screen while showing content. I'll think about that. Chad says backup booking. Never use a loyalty number. I got burned on a budget one once. Luckily, there was a hurricane hitting that night, so they waived the fees. Oh, that was good luck. Yeah, don't do that. There was one time I booked, what was it? I booked 2 different rentals going into a trip. It was Avis. Yeah, it was Avis and someone else. And I hadn't decided which one I was going to use. My plan was to get there, see what the lines looked like. The prices were very, very similar. They're within $20 of each other for the whole weekend. But as soon as my plane landed and I turned off airplane mode, I got an alert from US Bank that says, would you like to use real-time rewards at Avis? Avis had already billed my credit card because of that exact reason. I'd put in my wizard number and they like, yep, we're going to bill you right now, 3 hours before your flight lands. Like, oh, okay. DZ to USA says, believe it or not, there's a huge 4th of July celebrated in Cancun. Interesting. QC. Oh, Sam K is now a member. He got the gifted membership from QC Man. Says, thank you. Absolute legend. Awesome. Thumbs up. Rewards Master has arrived. Good morning. How you doing, Rewards Master? We're talking about things that can be unexpected in travel and what to do about it. Hope you're having a good weekend. Sam K, I want to say spent it forward. What's the word I'm looking for? Paid it forward and also gifted a Dugroz Reports membership. Celebrate. Awesome. That's just as good as a $3 donation. I appreciate that, Sam. I appreciate that, QC Man. Thank you both. And then if I go a little further, MR, $9.99. Well, thank you, MR. I really appreciate it. It says, may the 4th be with you early. Celebrate. It's too bad that falls on a Sunday. I'll have church obligations and stuff, shouldn't say obligations. I'll have church stuff, so I won't be able to do a lot of Star Warsy stuff, but maybe I'll try to, I don't know, do an Easter egg or a community post or something, maybe a members only community post, something like that. Rewards Master says, thank you, Sam K. Well, he got the donation from Sam K. That's awesome. Thank you for your generosity, everyone. Yuri G has arrived, says, hi, guys. How you doing, Yuri? And let's see. QC Man says, hey, Yuri G, Mr. Custom Cash. New Again says, the member number does not dictate when car rentals bill. The booking rate bill terms does. I agree with that. I still think there's some way, like in my case, Avis knew it was me, even though I booked through a third party because I put in my Wizard number, because I did not put in a credit card number on Priceline, but somehow they still figured out how to book my credit card on file. Chad says, I'll raise a lightsaber in your honor tomorrow at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Absolutely. I need to get down there someday for both Galaxy's Edge and Super Mario World. All right, back to the presentation. Number 3, toll roads everywhere. So was it Frugal Dad or somebody else talked about like, welcome to New York, basically joking they nickel and dime you all the time. Something I didn't think about or realize I should have is that there's a lot of toll roads there. In Iowa, I want to say there's not a single toll road. That's not quite true. There used to be a toll road north of Cedar Rapids. I don't know if it's still a toll road anymore. Maybe some Iowans can let me know. And there is a bridge that goes across the Mississippi River in far southwest Iowa, south of Omaha into Bellevue, Nebraska, and that's a toll bridge. But other than that, there's almost no toll roads here in Iowa, so I'm not very used to those. Problem. You can't get around without a toll bridge or a toll road. So when I was going to the FDR place and to meet Matt there, where I just happened to meet him by coincidence, I typed into Apple Maps, like, get me there. And it was like, well, you've got 2 options. The options with toll roads will take you 52 minutes, less than an hour. The option without toll roads will take you an hour and 48 minutes, almost 2 hours. I'm like, it takes an extra hour to avoid toll roads. And what I found out is, like, almost every bridge across the Hudson River is a toll bridge. And I was on the west bank of the river, and Hyde Park, where FDR is buried, is on the east bank of the river. So I had to take a toll road. I had no choice. Now, fortunately, I found out most of them aren't that expensive, like $1.99, $2.99, $3, $4, something like that. The other thing is, in my rental car, and this is maybe unique to the Northeast, I'm not sure, there's this little thingamajig that says, it's like attached to the windshield, says choose your option. One option is all-inclusive tolling. If you flip it down, it's like a metal case, it'll expose the RFI sensor that your Easy Pass or Plate Pass will automatically recognize. That's one option. That was almost $30 a day. It was like $28.99 a day, or $27.99 a day, $29 a day for unlimited tolls. So dollar car rental would just pass through $30 a day. So that was one option. The other option is usage day tolling, where you keep it closed. It can't read the sensor, but there is like a UPC code in the windshield that it reads, so it knows who to charge, plus it reads your license plate. And that was $9.99 per day, plus actual costs of tolls that would flow through to dollar, and then they would bill you. And I thought to myself, since these toll bridges and I think one toll road, like I was on a short, maybe 10-mile stretch, are only like $2, $3, $4, I would have to be doing a whole lot of toll roads to make an extra $18 a day worth it. And I didn't even come close. So I ended up leaving it closed and used the day usage tolling. And I didn't even do it at all on Monday and Tuesday. It was just Saturday and Sunday. So the solution to toll roads everywhere is read the options carefully. So like I said, there was that thing, and there was like, you had to scan a UPC code, and or an RFI, whatever those codes are you scan with your phone. And it took me to a place where I read all the options. You had to really scroll down to read it to know exactly what it was. Because I was like, is it $9.99 plus the cost of tolls per toll or per day? It's per day, fortunately, but they didn't make it that easy. I did notice on the rental agreement jacket, they also had like tiny fine print that kind of described it, not as well, but make sure you read your options and fine print carefully. And then the second solution is consider a card with some kind of travel eraser. It flows through the rental company, so it'll still count as travel. So what'll happen is I presented my Altitude Reserve as my payment card, even though I'd prepaid with Auto Slash. I presented that as the card where like the $200 temporary charge went on there. So either that'll get modified, it'll go away and come back, in 2 weeks when they get the exact amount of tolls, and then that'll show up on my Altitude Reserve. If it clears $10 total, which I'm pretty sure it will, I should get the option for real-time rewards on that. Other good options would be the Venture X card, which lets you do the travel eraser at 1 cent per point. Yeah, 1 cent per point isn't great, but I think the Venture X would actually be really good in this case, especially if you're trying to find a way to use your $300 annual travel portal credit. So what I would do would be use your portal credit in the Venture X portal to get your rental car. Any part that goes above and beyond that $300 credit, you could do your travel eraser with if you want to. And then when you stop by for your rental car, show them that card. That way any incidentals go on there, and you can also travel erase those. I know some people don't like the idea of cashing out at 1 cent per point. You'd rather save your money. I'm sure rewards masters on here would say, hey, I'd rather save my Capital One points and use them for something else. I'll just pay the $30, $40, $50 in tolls out of pocket. And that's totally cool too. It's whatever your philosophy is. Aeroplan's another good choice. I've talked a million times about the 1.625 when you take into account the 10% bonus, 20% bonus, the 0.25 greater redemption. That would be a good use for that. So I didn't use it on this trip. The only thing to watch out for is the Aeroplan card does not have primary collision damage waiver for rental cars. It has secondary in your own country. So I would only use the Aeroplan outside the United States. If I'm traveling to Canada, Europe, Asia, whatever. So that's how you solve toll roads everywhere. All right, catching up with some more comments here. Where were we? Oh, man. There we are. Okay. QC says, I wonder if YouTube actually randomly gives the gifts of membership or if it's a secret algorithm. I don't think it's random. I think it has something to do with how often you watch, how often you've clicked like, that kind of stuff. Austin Strand says, Florida meetup, ? Some people saying hi to each other. And Chad says, pick your time. We'll plan a meetup around it. I'm not going to read every single one. Sam says, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Chad says, you can't get anywhere in Orlando without tolls. If you avoid them, the gas use will almost outweigh the tolls. Yeah, and I didn't want to take an extra hour of my time to save $2. Yuri G says, those states suck. We don't have any tolls in Tennessee. Austin says, this is why I think people should have a portable toll transponder. The problem is, isn't Easy Pass only in the New England and the Northeast? What am I going to do with it? Use it once every 5 years? Obviously, if you went there regularly, yeah, of course. Juan says, pretty much everywhere in Florida, you have tolls. Sam says, wouldn't it just be cheaper to buy and fuel your own passenger plane with the amount of traveling you do? It absolutely would not. Austin Strand says, SunPass Pro has a rental car mode, and you can just bring that. Wells Fargo Autograph has 3x on tolls. Yep, that's another good one. Whoop. Rewards Match says, I rent with Avis through the City AA Executive Card and get 10x AA miles and 10x LPs. I'm not even sure what LPs is. Liquid propanes, probably. No, I'm sure it's some sort of other point system, but hey, that's pretty cool. Yuri GS, do you get $120 back? And Chad says, Orlando is the worst in Florida. The only non-toll highway is I-4, and that has optional toll lanes. SunPass or CFX Tollway, at least down south, you have 95 and Turnpike as parallel options. Chad says, no, the toll companies will work together in like 23 plus states. Oh, okay. Well, if somebody's ever done the math for somebody that lives in a non-toll state and travels 5 to 7 times a year, if it's worthwhile, let me know how that maths out. Austin says there is inoperability between most states in the eastern part of the country. Interesting. Yuri G says Florida's one of those weird states. They nickel and dime you all the time. QC Man says LP stands for loyalty points. Loyalty points for status. Okay, yep. I'm with y'all. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the input. Still chugging right along here. Number 4, we're hungry, but we don't want to go out. Look at that picture. It's time to make you a little hungry. After all, it is 11 o'clock. So we're hungry, but we don't want to go out. This is a picture from the Crown Plaza. It was called the Desmond in Albany. Very nice hotel. I would recommend it. This was their breakfast, and man, that was a good omelet. Everything was delicious, except I didn't really care for the tomato. We got your hollandaise sauce. We got your ranch. Oh, man, I'm so hungry now. The problem, you need to eat at the hotel restaurant. So that could be a couple different things. Maybe you're taking Uber, you're taking Lyft. You don't want to pay, $30 for Lyft to take you a quarter mile to a restaurant. You don't have time to walk. So you're like, let's just eat at the hotel. Maybe you have status, maybe you don't. Maybe you get your $10 Hilton credit, but that's not quite enough. But we all know the hotel restaurants can be expensive. I ate at a Hilton here in downtown Des Moines just to use up my one of my Hilton credits because you can't buy gift cards anymore back in the last week of March. And by the time I factored in the meal and everything, I think it was $35 with tip. And it was just like a cheeseburger, a soft drink, and a reasonable tip, $35. Like I could go to Perkins or Jethro's or some sit-down restaurant and maybe spend between $20 and $23. So it's like 30 to 40% more expensive to eat at the hotel restaurant. But sometimes it's like, oh man, for the sake of convenience, I don't want to go out again. I've been traveling all day. Let's just go downstairs and eat. Making you a little more hungry, that same restaurant, the Desmond there in Albany, Crown Plaza. Oh man, my entree the evening that I arrived was this chicken dish. I'm not sure what it's called. It's like chicken and spaghetti it's got some sort of creamy mushroom sauce in it. Of course, you dip it in ranch. Oh man, that was so good. The veggies weren't great, not my cup of tea, but everything else was just so delicious. And then for dessert, I had a chocolate chip cookie, like at Perkins, they call it a chocolate chipper, which was warm, served in a small iron skillet with ice cream on top, a la mode, like the chocolate chipper a la mode. Oh my word, with pecan sprinkled on it. That was so flippin' good. That's like, you might kill a man to eat one of those. Not literally. I'm thinking of those old, what would you do for a Klondike bar commercials. Someone did a parody of it where it's like, what would you do for a Klondike bar? And they interview some guy and he's like, would you kill a man? And he's like, yeah, I would. Something like that. Can't even know for sure where that was. Was it Simpsons? Was it Family Guy? Was it SNL? I don't remember. Solution. Make sure the card on file at your hotel can wipe out those charges at something greater than 1 cent per point. Of course, the classic example, once again, is the Aeroplan card, and I actually used it this time. So my stay at the Desmond Crown Plaza was a free night certificate, so I didn't have to pay anything. So other than the incidentals, I wasn't missing out on any earnings. So I just made the Aeroplan card my card on file, and then whoop, or no, that's not what we say. Boom, paid myself back using those Chase points effectively at 1.625 cents per point. Sometimes people say you can't eat points. In this case, you sure can. As an alternative, you could instead use the hotel branded card to earn points. Like if you had the IHG Premier card, the Premier Business card, you'd earn, I didn't do the math, a bunch of points on that yummy dessert. So at least like, yeah, it's 30% more expensive, but at least you're earning 20, 30 points per dollar, something like that, which kind of ameliorates the pain a little bit. I don't remember if I have another one or not. Same one. Just I'm showing you here that the breakfast plus the supper put together came out to $66. You can see the Desmond Hotel down here. And I redeemed 5,280. So that's 1.25 cents per point bear in mind, I already transferred over with a 30% bonus. So on the Chase side, I wiped those charges out at 1.625 cents per point. So that's a good way to take care of it when you're hungry but don't want to go out. All right, before I get to number 5, story time, catching up on comments here. Devel Davenport, or Devil. Don't think we've met before. Devel, happy to see you. Easy Pass works in the Midwest also. How about that? Again, if anyone's ever done the math, is it better? My gut feeling is like buying one probably wouldn't be worth it for me, because like in all my travels the last 3 years, the New York one I just did had the most tolls by far. Like West Virginia, I don't remember having any. Pensacola, Florida, I don't remember having any. Springfield, Illinois, I don't remember having any. I went to visit my sister in the outskirts of Chicago. We had a few pass tolls, but they have an online system where you just go online and pay them, so that wasn't that big of a deal. Juan Garcia says, Chad Pennycup, I'll give you that. Here in Miami, we have I-95, but also have tolls on highways, and then lists several examples. Yuri G says, in the San Francisco Bay Area, they have toll bridges, but you can avoid those. I remember driving across the Golden Gate Bridge when I was about 12 years old, traveling with my family. That was pretty awesome. We went to the Muir Woods, just north of San Francisco. I also remember the San Francisco earthquake of the late 80s. Was that 87, 88, 89? Again, I was a little kid, probably around 10, 12, 13 years old, something like that. During the World Series, Oral Hershiser pitching and all that. And I remember the other bridge, was it the Bay Bridge, broke, and like the top deck fell to the second deck, and some guy was crushed to death, and they had to divert all the traffic to the Dumbarton Bridge. And I don't know why I still remember the name of the alternative bridge being Dumbarton, because it's a really dumb name maybe. QC Man says that cookie and has love in his eyes, and I agree. It is that kind of thing. If I could go back in time, I might have just 3 of those cookies instead. Yuri G says, I use the autograph journey at most hotels. That's another way. You can get 5 transferable points. QC Man helps us clarify the what would you do for the Klondike commercials were real commercials from a company that were supposed to be funny. Maybe SNL also did parodies, but I remember the actual ads. Yes, I remember the actual ads too. I'm just saying someone, whether it was SNL or someone else, did a parody where they said, would you kill a man? And the guy reluctantly was like, yes. What would you do for a Klondike bar? Clairvoyant adds to the algorithm with comment. Austin says some Pass Pros like $15 to $20. One time or per month? Austin Strand, if you have some Pass Pro, how do you avoid getting the rail car's transponder hit with a toll? It's still active. Catch 631 says, when I was looking at it with my family, it was worth it as long as we went to Kansas City or Lawrence, Kansas 2 or 3 times a year, the Easy Pass. Lawrence, Kansas has tolls? That's surprising. All right, back to the theme of the day or topic of the day or whatever we want to call it. Number 5, story time. Okay, so there is no direct flight from Des Moines, Iowa to Albany, New York. Shocking, I know. So my plan going out and back was the same. I had a flight from Des Moines to LaGuardia, New York City, and then from LaGuardia up to Albany. And on the way out there, that's exactly what happened. On the way back, it was supposed to be exactly the same thing. So start in Albany, fly to LaGuardia. I had like a 2 hour and 45 minute layover, and then from LaGuardia to Des Moines. All right. So those of you who were with me on Tuesday know that I did an unscheduled, somewhat impromptu live stream from the Chase Sapphire Lounge in LaGuardia. What I didn't realize, and this is my own fault, I should have done the research in advance, but I didn't, is that LaGuardia has 3 terminals, A, B, and C. A is like the old, like, planes that land on water terminal. It's only used by a couple smaller airlines. So most of them are B and C. The Sapphire Lounge is in B, which is like American, United, some others that I'm not thinking, JetBlue, maybe, I don't remember. I'm not thinking of them all right now, but most of them going through B. Delta has terminal C, and they almost have the entire terminal to themselves. Unlike lots of airports, there's no intra-airport way of changing terminals. They're physically separate buildings. There's no tunnel. There's no shuttle. You have to go out through security, hop on a bus, and ride to the other terminal, go through security again. So I was like, I don't love that, but I've got over 2.5 hours. I'll be okay. When I went from Terminal C with Delta over to Terminal B, where the lounge is, the bus took like 3 to 5 minutes. It was super fast. I'm like, all right, I timed myself. It only took 21 minutes to change terminals, including security. So I'm like, I'll allow an hour. That's plenty of time. Did my live stream, left it about an hour, probably 55 minutes by the time I got done using the bathroom. Went outside, through security, got on the bus. What I didn't realize was there's 2 different buses. There's an express bus that just goes between B and C, and that's why I took the first time. Then there's another bus, the LGA Link bus, that makes the entire loop, goes to every single terminal. Unfortunately, the driver of that bus, English was not his first language. He didn't speak very good English. And the guy in front of me tried to ask a clarifying question, and I'm not sure he understood the question. I'm not sure I understood the question. Maybe that's partially my own fault. I should have researched this more. I got on the bus that does the entire circuit, and the way the circuit was going was the wrong way. So it went from B to A, which is that weird, rarely used terminal, and then he just sat there for 5 minutes. And after everyone except me and one other passenger, you can see in this picture, there's a young lady here several rows back. It was just the 2 of us. The guy gets up and says, "Where are you guys going?" or something like that. And I said, "Terminal C." Is like, "Oh, you should not have got on this bus. You should have got another bus." I don't know what accent that is. Italian, maybe. I'm not sure. And I'm like, "Now you tell us." I said, "How long do you have to wait?" He says, 5 minutes. So he had a mandatory 5-minute wait at that stop. Then we stopped at like the parking garage. Then we stopped at like the employee spot. That bus took like 37 minutes to make the loop. Then I got back to Terminal C. Then I had to go through security again. And I'm like, I'm going to be one of these idiots that's running through the airport, aren't I? All because I got on the wrong bus. And that's exactly what happened. By the time I got back to the correct terminal, went through security, and I'll hand it to LaGuardia. Their security wasn't that bad. I mean, I got through relatively promptly. It was pretty good. I got to the gate, and this is what I saw. No one was there. If you look at the sign, it says 4:53 p.m. Scheduled departure was 5:05. So I was still 12 minutes before the scheduled departure, but they moved it up and decided to leave 5 minutes early. And apparently, if they have everybody but one person on board and they can leave early, they're going to leave early. Because I went around the corner, the door was locked, and obviously I'm smart enough to know don't try breaking down a door at the airport. Bad things will happen. No employees. I look out the window, the plane's still there. In fact, they've still got the shades up. The pilots are just starting to pull it down their glare filters. And I'm like, are you flipping kidding me? I missed my flight. And that was the last direct flight from LaGuardia back to Des Moines that day. So instead of a nice direct flight, I got to do this. I got to go from Albany to LaGuardia, LaGuardia to Atlanta, Atlanta to Des Moines. So instead of landing around 7:30 at night, I ended up landing at like a quarter till 11. The funny thing was when I showed up at Albany, it was a small regional jet, and they're like asking for volunteers to do a gate check of their bags. And I volunteer because I'm going home. I mean, if they lose my bag, they'll just send it to my home. I don't have anything in there that's like valuable or anything. So like, yeah, I'll do a gate check. All right, we'll just check it through your final destination. That'll be fine. So my luggage showed up at like 7:30, but I didn't show up until 10:45. So, and not enough time in Atlanta to go to any lounge. It was just like a 45-minute connection. So that was kind of a bummer. So delays is the last topic here. Picture of my bag, very lonely and all by itself. Now, full disclosure, that wasn't the picture I took when I got to Des Moines. It was from a different occasion, but just kind of demonstrating all by myself. Fortunately, nobody took my bag, and actually the Delta employee grabbed it and rolled it back behind a rope because, nobody can get behind a rope. The solution is book with a card that has delay insurance. Now, my exact example, if I did get delayed and had to spend the night, would Chase have let me use delay insurance? I'm kind of skeptical. They would probably say, so you left the terminal, went through security just because you wanted to go to a lounge, and then went through security again, stupidly got on the wrong bus? Yeah, we're not covering that. But let's just say, and this has happened to me before, you get ready to board the airplane breaks down, and there's no more flights that evening. Okay, that didn't happen to me. I did get on a flight that was delayed by like 3.5 hours, but it's certainly possible that there might be a mechanical delay. You can't fly till the next morning. The Chase Sapphire Reserve says if you have a delay of 6 hours or an overnight stay, either one, they will cover you. I would also use one that has lost baggage. So let's say my baggage had, gone to Des Moines and somebody got confused and tried to send it to Atlanta to catch up with me, and then they lost it or damaged it. A card like the Chase Sapphire Reserve has protections for that as well. And then, of course, the other solution is don't leave a terminal that's outside security. Don't do what I did. Honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm a content creator, I'm an influencer, I wouldn't have done it, because it wasn't really worth it to change terminals to be there for like 45 minutes. It was a lot of hassle and a lot of walking. I did it for you, the viewers. But if it was with my family, I definitely wouldn't have tried it. I did get a free hamburger out of it, which was meh. It was good for a lounge hamburger. It wasn't anything like what I had at the Desmond. By the way, I know there's been some confusion because some podcast or something mentioned like Sapphire Reserve is cracking down and they will only cover or refund the portion that you put on the card. That fine print only applies to the cancellation insurance. To the best of my knowledge, obviously do your own research. So like if you book a flight through Aeroplan, use all Aeroplan points except you pay the $6 in fees, and then you get COVID the day before and can't fly. Chase will only cover you for the $6 in fees that you put on the card. But yesterday I specifically went in and looked at the travel delay insurance, like if you have to get a hotel overnight and have the card pay for it. It says if you paid for all or a portion of your flight with the card, you're covered. Same thing with lost baggage or damaged baggage. It says if you pay for all or a portion of your flight. So for what it's worth, that's what the terms and conditions still say. Everything except the trip cancellation due to illness and that kind of stuff. That's what it says. All right, now I need to catch up on comments here. I think that's the last slide. It is. Yes. Okay, I'll go back just for the sake of having something on the screen. Let's see. Catch 631. This is back to rental cars and your Easy Pass transponders. When I was looking at it for my family, oh yeah, we already discussed that one. Sorry. Yuri says, in my 14 years at San Francisco Bay Area, I never had Easy Pass. I only paid tolls a few times in 14 years. They only charge when you cross it in one direction. Gumbo says, yes, the Bay Bridge collapsed. Good memory. Austin Strand says, that's the cost for the transponder. The tolls are pay as you go. So 15 to 20. That might be worth it. It's not that much. Gumbo says the Golden Gate Bridge only charges going south. Going north is free. Interesting. So if you're going up to the Muir Woods, that's free. Then you have to go around, which is probably way out of the way. QC Man says, I think the earthquake was in 89. The Giants and the A's were in the World Series, not the Dodgers. That was 88. Thank you. Got the Dodgers and Giants mixed up. That's right. That's the whole reason it was in San Francisco is because it was the Giants. And then the Oakland A's. In fact, it was the whole like Bay Area series because remember when the A's used to be in Oakland? Or maybe they still are until next year. I don't follow Major League Baseball hardly at all anymore. Hershiser was amazing. The Gibson home run stole the thunder, though. Is that the one where he's doing the fist pump thing that we've all seen? Or am I thinking of someone else? The earthquake was in 89. Thank you, John McKinstry. And Chad Pennycuff says, leave the car rental company transponder folded up in its case, stick your transporter in the windshield, and register the plates as a short-term rental in your toll app. Okay, thank you for the tips. Yuri G says, if you want to go to Marin County from South Bay, where I lived, you can take the Golden Gate Bridge, but when you go back, take the Richmond Bridge. You don't pay anything. Thanks for the tips. And New Again says, thanks, Chad. In which toll app system? SunPass, Easy, car rental site? Rewards Match says, your bus ride sounds like one of those hop-on, hop-off bus routes, 3 hours to make the loop. If you don't take the express bus, that's exactly what it was like. Yuri says, all bridges charge in one direction. That must be the ones in the Bay Area. Now, the random toll bridge from Iowa to Bellevue, Nebraska charges in both directions. Kirby G, and it's weird, it's a privately operated toll booth. Kirby G says, one time I overslept and woke up in my bed right as boarding was happening. Quickly went on the Delta app to change my flight to a later flight. It was an extra $120 for my mistake. Lesson learned. Austin Strand says, only overnight delay I've had was coming home from Kansas City. The incoming coming home from Kansas City. The incoming flight crew was about to time out, so AA flew me to a connection airport and paid for the hotel. Great. DZ to USA says, I think the Bilt card has 6-hour delay insurance. Chad says, did you go to any lounges in Atlanta? We want to know your thoughts on the Centurion Lounge there. I don't have Centurion access right now. The only platinum in our family is my wife's business platinum, and I'm not paying the extra, what is it, $300 for an authorized big-time user on that. How was the Chase Lounge? Was it crowded? No, it was fine. The first time I went there, felt a little crowded, and the food service was very slow. This time, more average. Now, admittedly, this was a Tuesday afternoon. Not overcrowded. No, not at all. And the food was good. It was a little on the cold side, my burger. Atlanta has a Party Pass restaurant that I use, Sam Adams Brew House, if I recall correctly. I'll tuck that away for my USBAR. The A's are in Sacramento now. Aren't they moving to Las Vegas, or am I remembering wrong? That was Manuel Jimenez. Thank you, Manuel. QC Man says, you'd have been okay if you'd taken the express bus. I don't know why I can't say the word bus today. You'd have been okay if you'd taken the express bus. Still a good choice to go to the lounge. The Rewards Master says, just my opinion, the insurances are a poor trade-off. For them to pay you, you have to transfer from their ecosystem and use a card that's probably inferior for earnings. I'll have to brew that one over, but thank you for the viewpoint. Manuel says, until their stadium is built in Las Vegas. Sam K says, what one direction does One Direction travel in one direction? Well, as we know in San Francisco, it's north. That's the end of the main event. So let's wrap that up. In fact, I officially declare it to be wrapped up. There we go. All right. So we will transition to the community tab questions. Before doing so, as is tradition, I will use the little boys' room. We call this the biology break. So you're going to have about 2 minutes of listening to some nice copyright-free music. I've got an overlay here. I like just staring at the wall better. Let's just break out the copyright-free music. How about Dance Pop? I'll be back in 2 minutes. Please don't leave. This is getting kind of weird. All right, that's enough of that. I wanted to go back to one of the comments earlier. I was thinking about this while using the bathroom. Rewards Master said the insurances are a poor trade-off, his opinion. For them to pay, you have to transfer their ecosystem, use a card that is probably inferior for earnings. Now that I think about it, I think this is one of those exercises where your goal and how you use points really impacts how much this statement matters. So I know your goal is to get epic value, like the highest cents per point possible. So for things like, just a simple flight from Des Moines to New York City, you would probably just pay cash and maybe use your Delta credit card, which makes sense. In my case, I'm trying to make that flight as cheap as possible. So I'm usually using credits, points, portals, those kind of things anyway. So the only thing that I'm paying with a credit card is usually the taxes and fees, the $6 in each direction. So $12. So whether you get 3 Chase points per dollar on $12 or 15 Delta points per dollar on $12, does it really matter? The returns are so small. Whereas in your case, you're probably buying, I'm just making up a number here, $3,000 to $5,000 worth of those cheap repositioning flights per year. So in that case, now that kind of buckage really does matter. So interesting thought process. If I did it the way you did, and I hope to someday when I'm all grown up, I would probably have the exact same opinion. Chad says to the Rewards Master, 100% agree. Card insurance are optimized for those who pay cash and don't care. I always use the best card tool in the shed to do the job. Sam K said I was doing a bio stream. QC Man says don't forget to the like button. Thank you, QC Man. At this point, we may not drive a lot of people in, but likes help the after the fact crowd to be drawn here more. Some of my videos are getting over 1,000 views per live stream total now, so I'd like it if that trend can continue. Yuri G says, if you go out of San Francisco direction, you don't pay. Clockwise direction. It's like if you're leaving. New Again says, Rewards Master, not if you book in the portal. That rewards big, i.e. big banks and AA portals. I think that's along the lines of what I was saying. Sam says the UK is a bit far for visiting bridges and tolls in the US. Absolutely. Rewards Master says, Chad Pennycup, the low probability problem should also be factored in. I won't trade 5 points per dollar for 3 points per dollar for insurance against something that happens once every 30 trips. There is a point where you have to do the math. And again, I think it comes down to the volume of how much you travel. New Again says, oops, you were talking about trip protection insurances. Every Friday, I post a community tab question. And let me pull that up here so we can all look at that together. And on that community tab question, I will ask you to ask me anything, and then I will talk about it here on the live stream. So we're going to share this tab instead. Here's this one's right there. So there's the picture. Boy, this is going to be a difficult one to guess. You're supposed to guess where this picture was taken, and you're supposed to ask me anything. Didn't get very many questions this time, so it probably won't take me long to go through it. We're probably within the last 7 to 10 minutes of the live stream, so remember to click thumbs up. And if you want to reward me with a super chat or super sticker, I would sure appreciate that. All right. Yuri BSU said of this picture, it's the place where they take and spend some of my money. And I said, are you a New York resident? And he said, yes. Ron Burns said, I'll take unexpected travel expenses for $100, Alex. This card will give you 1.25x back on travel expenses when you use pay yourself back. What is the Chase Aeroplan card? Ding, ding, ding. That's right. It would have been fun to do today's live stream in the form of Jeopardy, but that would have taken like 2 extra hours of preparation. So great idea. I just didn't quite have the bandwidth to do it. So thank you for mentioning that. I appreciate it. He also guessed the New York State Capitol since I just visited Albany. And that's right. You get 1,000 Dugroz points. Thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. An anonymous person said the International Hall of Points and Miles. Good guess, but no. David William also said the New York Capitol building in Albany. Ding. Yes, David, you also get 1,000 Dugroz points. It kind of reminds me of the downtown Richmond, Virginia Amtrak station. That must be a pretty fancy Amtrak station. I also saw a video about a really fancy train station in Detroit. I don't know if it's still there. This is the only question somebody actually asked me. It was from Ian KM1 asked, have you talked about your most costly credit card mistake? I don't know if I have or not. And I'm not sure if you mean costly in terms of money or costly in terms of strategy. I've never had like a terrible damaging mistake, but there are a couple that I'll mention. One is one time I went to Walmart to buy a gift card, and instead of buying a Visa prepaid gift card, I actually bought an Amex prepaid gift card, which Amex is you cannot use as debit, so they're a lot harder to liquidate. So what I had to do is just gradually over the course of like 3 weeks use this Amex card to pay for things. So that was kind of dumb. And then one time I was at a Walgreens or CVS, and I meant to break out my Freedom Flex to buy some $500 gift card. At least I get 3x points, and I accidentally broke out the OG Freedom, which does not have the extra 3x at pharmacies. So I only got 1 point per dollar on an almost $500 purchase. So that was kind of dumb. So that's probably the most costly in terms of dollar amounts. And like I said, if that's the most costly, that's not that big of a deal. In terms of strategy, it would have been early on when I used one of my valuable 524 slots to get the City Rewards Plus card. Now, I suppose with the benefit of hindsight, it was pretty good. But at that time, you couldn't cash out if you only had the Rewards Plus. You had to have like a double cash or something else with it. So, and I didn't have the CSP, the Strata Premier, which used to just be the Premier. So the only thing I could do to get 1 cent per point was gift card. So I think I bought like $150 worth of hotels.com gift cards using that. So it really didn't make a lot of sense in my strategy at that time to get it. That's it. That's it for the community tab questions. Let's see. Scrolling up. Yuri G says, yes, Rewards Master. I pay all fees with the City Prestige at 5x or the Autograph Journey with 5x. I thought the Autograph Journey only gave 4x on flights. I thought the 5 was saved for hotels. QC, I guess Buckingham Palace. That's a good guess. It does look kind of palacey, but nope, that was in Albany, New York. Sam K says the Addams Family House. Nope. John got it correct. Albany State Capitol, and correctly used an OL, because if you use OL, that describes the building. You came in a little late, so I'll grant you 3/4 credit. I'll give you 750 Dugroz points. Is Aeroplan 3x on travel? No, it is not. It's only 1x on travel. So if you want to use it, you do have to give up a little bit on earnings. But as I've noted in a previous video, you would have to be earning like an average of more than 12x to not have that be worthwhile. MR says, I could have sworn that white building's in one of the previous photographs. It was. DZ says 60s postmodern architecture. Like the tall building off to the right is. I wouldn't say the Capitol building is, but like, yeah, they have these like 5 or 6 office buildings in a row for government workers that just to me look hideously inefficient. Like, how about just one big building instead of a bunch of like really skinny tall ones? Somebody was thinking like this will make a cool skyline, but to me it looks kind of like, I don't know, that 60s industrial look. Rewards Master says Prestige Club. I use mine for all the taxes and fees also. Or excuse me, I'm in the Prestige Club. Yeah, I wish I had the City Prestige. Rex guesses this is my pool house. My pool house is about 50% smaller than that one. Yuri G says the Wells Fargo Autograph Journey is good for hotels and a good alternative for airlines at 4x. QC Man says, I've heard the Amex gift card can be a pain in the hind end to use sometimes. It is, because it's only where credit is accepted and only where Amex is accepted. Rodrigo started to ask, are the travel, but you probably have more thoughts on that, so let me know what the full thoughts are. Kirby says, are there any other live streams today? I don't know. I'm sorry. Hey, look, Rewards Master drops $1.99 super chat or sticker. Celebrate. Thank you, Rewards Master. I really appreciate that. And with that, that just about brings us to the end. Let's review those who contribute to the channel today. And this is probably your last chance, then we'll wrap it up. Xavier celebrated his 9-month membership. I'm not sure why I said Xavier. Xavier celebrated his 9-month membership. Tom Graber, consistent as always, gave $5. Speaking of consistent as always, I wonder where John R. is. He usually stops by and gives $2. Robert J gave $1.99. Danny A gave 99 cents. Austin Strand joined as a new member. QC Man celebrated his 13-month membership. QC Man gifted a membership. Sam K gifted a membership. MR came in as the big hitter today. $9.99. Thank you so much. And Rewards Master with $1.99. All right, I'll pause for any final questions, but we're coming up on noon Central Time in about 7 minutes. That's kind of my limit. Robert says John is in Iceland. Oh, is that confirmed? That's pretty cool. I wonder if he'll do a live stream from Iceland. We're missing Filmo too. Yeah, I feel like Filmo he's still around. I see him in the comment section of stuff, but he's had some obligations and those kind of things lately. I'm missing him. Is he still in Iceland maybe? We don't know. MR says, I think John is in Iceland fighting frost giants. Probably. Yeah, that's what he's doing. Well, thank you everyone for watching. I really appreciate it. We'll wrap it right there. Thank you to those of you who made contributions. Thank you to everyone who viewed. Last chance to click the thumbs up button. Please do that. That does support both my channel and my family. And as always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sam.